Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia J, and I'm here with Ashley Nicole Boss.
Hello, everyone. I feel like I haven't seen everyone in forever. We are back. I am back. I am here. I'm excited.
I was going to say the gang is back together again because we really haven't been. I mean, you have been doing some amazing things, Ashley.
Oh,
You had your first episode of 106 in Sports. Can you just give us
yes.
a little bit about the show? I mean, it was fantastic. Great to see
It
you on there.
was insane. Obviously, the first show, and we're still working through some things, and each show will get better and better. But I will say, like, as someone who spends a lot of time in a studio or on a closed set, and I don't get to really interact with like fans and crowds and that often. It was such a surreal and such a crazy experience, like having a live audience and feeding off of that energy. Probably my favorite part of the entire experience, and it's going to probably continue to be my favorite part. It's just the crowd gets into it, and they it's Atlanta, so they turn all the way up. Okay,
All
so
right,
I
ATL.
listen. If you think Cam's on one, the crowd is on two. So I love it though. I appreciate everyone who watched, who tweeted, including you. You were watching. And yeah, every Wednesday, just make sure you guys keep it locked with us, but make sure you're keeping it locked here as well, because yes, the WNBA finals have come and gone, but there's still so much to get into. College basketball season is right around the corner, and of course, all the other amazing women's sports throughout the sports world. So you have to make sure you are tapped in, and to do that, you got to follow us on all of our socials here, the pages, social, our individuals as well, and make sure you're subscribed, notifications turned all the way up on YouTube. And last but not least, if you are a podcast listener, we have a QR code that you can scan, and it will pop us up wherever you get your pods. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple. So look, there's no reason to not be tapped in with us, because like I said, basketball may have ended for the W, but women's sports is continuing.
It sure is. And we just gave you 3 different times to scan that QR code. So if you
Or
did not
did.
do it, you don't really love us, okay? That's all I'm saying. It's back up again. Listen, if you don't scan it, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. You've
Yes.
had so many chances. But you know what? Ashley, you mentioned college basketball, and the season has not, it started yet. It hasn't even kicked off, but we've had some discourse around college basketball already.
Don't we
Uh,
always?
yeah. So the AP released its all-time greatest college player first, second, and
Right.
reserve team list. And it's a very long list, okay? But it got me thinking, I know we have some of our favorite women's college basketball players of all time. And
Mhm.
so let's just talk about them. Like,
Let's
let's go
do
down
it.
the line and keep it 100. So we both have 5 players that we have in mind. And I'll just start with the first person. And actually, it's going to be 2, because when I think about women's college basketball and just women's basketball players in general, you got to go with the history.
Mhm.
You got to go with the history, and that's Lucy Harris for sure. She's literally the queen of basketball. She scored 2,981 career points, led Delta State to a 109-6 record, and 3 straight AIAW national championships. And then she went on, as we know, to be the only woman drafted into the NBA. But when it comes to college, she literally laid down the foundation. And that would lead me also to Lynette Woodard. Prior to Caitlin breaking the record, Woodard was the unofficial top scorer in women's college basketball history. She finished her college career with 3,649 points, which is wild, during her 4-year
Mhm.
career at Kansas. And then, moreover, she was an All American in each of her 4 seasons for the Jayhawks. And she was one of the pioneers of the sport. So when I think, I mean, you cannot have not have them as one of your, favorites, because they laid the foundation.
I love that. You gotta pay homage and you gotta pave it forward, but also look backwards and see where it all began. This is gonna be fun because we pretty much agree on
Yeah.
our entire list until we get to maybe one player, and I think that's the difference between our list. So we can start because I know this is on your list. It's on my list as well. I'm going to start with Stewie because I am a Liberty fan and I'm still licking my wounds from not being able to go back to the finals, but that's okay. There's always next year. Between the Liberty and the Yankees, I'm down bad. The Knicks gotta save me, man. I'm drowning here. Look, Stewie is just when you think of college basketball and you think of college basketball excellence, you think of Stewie. I mean, we talk about how difficult it is to win one championship in college. We're talking about a player, a woman who's won four of those things. You want to talk
Four.
about dominance, you want to talk about impact. I mean, let's not even talk about the record of UConn as a whole when she was there 151 and 5. That's not a I didn't mess that up. That
Insane.
wasn't a typo. They lost 5 games when she was there. It's just absolutely incredible. She also won most outstanding player 4 times, but I just think that when you think of the dominance of college basketball, when you talk about a dynasty, yes, you talk about UConn and just all the talent, and we're going to name a few more UConn alums on this list, but I just think for me, I am always so amazed by somebody who their entire collegiate career just resulted in wins. Like you don't know losing except for those 5 games. And it didn't even matter in the grand scheme because you're hoisted a trophy every single season. Breanna Stewart, in my opinion, there's a lot of talent that we're going to dive into. I think I might go on the record and say, may not be the most famous because I think the most famous is my personal favorite, CP3, Candace Parker. And that is just also because of what her career went into from a pro level. And this is before the Angel Reeses and the Caitlin Clarks. I'm talking like before them. But I think Breanna Stewart might be the best when we talk about the wins and the dubs in the chat and you talk accolades. It's hard to top that. She's a beast.
Listen, championships have to be in the conversation when you talk about greatest women's college basketball players of all time. And you're talking
Absolutely.
about somebody who won 4 of them things when she was in college, which seems
Shoot.
almost impossible. And so I would agree with you 1000%. Obviously we have to just mention, I mean, and it deserves more than a mention, but DT and Sue Bird are also in that conversation as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
But Breanna Stewart, I mean, she does not, get enough accolades in my opinion
No,
for
I
what she did
agree.
in college. She really doesn't. But going to the Candace Parker situation, she definitely is on this list for me as well. And obviously, she's one of the most known women's college basketball players of all time and known players of all time.
Mm.
But the thing that put her on the list for me, in addition to all the accolades that obviously put her there, is the impact that she had. Just the eyes that she brought to women's college basketball. I guess like the fandom around her, it elevated the game on so many different levels. So it's not just everything that she did. I mean, back to back champions in the last 2 national titles in the last 2 years for her. NCAA tournament most outstanding player in her last 2 years, obviously, as well. I mean, earned the Wooden Award twice, was an All-American in each of the 3 seasons for the Vols. So it's just like literally, in addition to her accolades, the thing that solidifies her name being on this list for me is just the impact that she brought to the overall game.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
I
it can
mean,
be seen today.
I think a lot of people fell in love with women's college basketball because of her. I know I did. I always tell that story that my introduction to the collegiate game from a woman's standpoint, from the women's sports standpoint, and even just from a WNBA standpoint, started with Candace Parker. I mean, we talk about this. I had a chance to interview her and even tell her this a few years ago. Like the first woman we ever seen dunk in a college basketball game, and you credit that to Candace Parker. So, like I said, there are women collegiate athletes in basketball who have had maybe more accolades, but I do think it's safe to say that nobody has had a bigger impact. Nobody has, up until recently, I feel like nobody has had a bigger impact and nobody has been more famous, if that's the right word, than I think Candace Parker. I just think that her name is just synonymous with excellence in so many different ways, with impact in so many different ways. So shout out to CP3. Um, who else do you have on your list? Because we're very much in agreement. We have Tarasi, we have Sue Bird, Candace Parker, Brianna Stewart. I think this is where things shift a little bit for us.
Well, I have to say Cheryl Miller. I
Okay.
mean, when I think about people that impacted me specifically just as a player coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and just also like just what she did in college and what she did as a player, Kodak All-American 4 times, Naismith Player of the Year award 3 times, had a 112 and 20 record while she played, and she averaged 23.6 points and 12 rebounds a game. They won back-to-back titles also while she was there at USC, which is incredibly hard to do, as we've already talked about. And she's just been a pioneer basketball, college basketball, period. But when I think about my women's college basketball goats, she's definitely one of them.
And for me, this is where we differ. Shout out to Cheryl Miller, though. Obviously, the Knicks fan. Not a big fan of her brother, but that's a different conversation.
We don't need to mention her brother. She's her
Okay.
own person. Okay.
Yes, listen. Okay. Cheryl, love you. Reggie, not so much. But for me, it's Maya Moore. I mean, we keep talking about UConn and we keep talking about the dominance and the talent that comes out of UConn. Got to run through some of these accolades. 2-time national champion, 2009, 2010, got the repeat. You know, Final Four most outstanding player, part of the UConn team that achieved that 90-game winning streak, which was an NCAA record. But then her individual accolades: 2-time National Player of the Year, 2-time winner of the Wooden Award, 3-time recipient of the Wade Trophy, Big East Player of the Year 3 times, ESPY Award for Best Female College Athlete in 2010. And I mean, personal records: fastest UConn player to hit 1,000 career points, UConn's all-time career points leader, UConn's most points in a season. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I just think that her dominance in the collegiate game and then how that translated, we're not even talking professional yet. I mean, Maya Moore for me is just like we're talking about so many people on this list, just talking about excellence and really setting the bar so high, which is why people, when we kind of have lists where respectfully there aren't people who have accomplished a fraction of what we just named in several of the women we just talked about, people get a little sticky about it because these resumes are historic. These resumes are hefty. These resumes are long. And they're also nothing to just toss to the wayside because of, living in the moment. And this is not to knock the women that we have seen in the collegiate game in recent years. But I mean, when you talk about impact and you talk about legendary college careers, that's a small group. And I just think that's fair to kind of keep the standard high and keep the main thing the main thing. And I think that at the end of the day, individual accolades, very important, but so is hardware and everyone we just talked about. That's one thing they all have in common. They all have the hardware.
Well, that leads me to the next thing I wanted to talk about. So we've talked about our players that we would put on the list.
Yeah.
However, on that AP list, and we're not going to list out everything, but Caitlin Clark was on the first team.
Yeah.
And there are many criteria as to why we would put certain people on the list, and a lot of it is personal bias. And I think right now, Caitlin Clark is hot, even though she didn't even really play
For
this
sure.
season. She's definitely hot, and she has done a lot in basketball already. But that leads me to a question: why would you or would you not put Caitlin Clark on your top list?
So again, this for me is what the criteria is, right? So if the criteria is what it is for, I feel like all the women that are on the list and what they share in common, and it's hardware, then no, I don't see how she's first team. But if we're making the criteria more fluid and looking at it from more of an encompassing mindset, and not necessarily putting so much impact or emphasis on hardware for a team sport, because obviously at the end of the day, it takes more than one person to win a championship in any sport, unless you're playing a singular sport like tennis. And we're looking at impact and how that impact has grown the game, and how that impact has brought more viewers and advertising and dollars, and how that has translated into the W. Then I can absolutely make a case for Caitlin Clark. I could also make a case for Angel Reese, because Angel Reese, although maybe didn't have the breaking of the records like Caitlin did in her college career, she does have the hardware. And people were talking about her in college just like they were talking about Caitlin, maybe in different ways, but the impact was there, and the narratives were there, and the social media clips were there, and the brand deals were there. So like different spaces, but very much a similar destination if we're talking impact. I think it just depends on what you gauge more important. Are you somebody who believes in ring culture, or do you look at individual accolades? And I think that's just kind of like where it's where you fall in the conversation.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to women's basketball, absolutely impact should be in there. It's part of it for sure. But what you play it for is the championship, right?
Rings for sure.
That's and so that has to be in the conversation as well. And so if I look at just her class alone, right? She would be obviously on that top 5, but there's another person that you already mentioned, Angel Reese, that not only had the impact, but she also got the championship. So it's hard for me to put Caitlin in that top 5 when you look at the history of the entire game, if we can't even say that a person in her class would beat her out, if that makes sense. And so,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that also has to do obviously with what is happening now. She's top of mind. How far back are we looking? Are they basing I guess just the scoring record? I mean, yes, it's had an impact for sure. Has she had an impact in basketball? Undoubtedly. But I just don't know if for me personally, if I'm looking at the history of the game, how it's impacted me and how it's impacted just the game of basketball overall in general, I'm not sure that I would put her above the people that we've talked about today.
No, and to your point, I mean, we can close out on this, but I think to your point, if it were going to be not just about hardware and also about impact, then I would honestly expect that top 5 to look a little bit different. But it seems lopsided because you have 4 players with a lot of hardware and a lot of accolades, whether team accolades, whether individual accolades. And then there's Caitlin, who again has had a huge impact, both collegiate basketball and professional basketball, but is missing some of those accolades. So my thing is like if it's she's on that top 5 because of her impact and how that impact has ultimately changed women's basketball across the board, I'm not mad at that. But I think that the top 5 list, should reflect that a little more, because to me, it's extremely lopsided if that is the ideology in putting her in the top 5. Nobody else in that 4 reflects, I think. For example, we're talking Breanna Stewart. Breanna Stewart has all the hardware. I wouldn't say she has had the Caitlin Clark impact, which is fine, but it's not then it's a lopsided list. It's a lopsided reasoning, I should say. So I would have expected it to be a little bit more even keeled if we were going to look at multiple factors in creating that list.
Yeah, I also think it's about timing too, though, because I remember when Stewie was in the midst of her college career and she had a huge impact, obviously.
That's true.
So I
That's
really
true.
think
People have short-term memories. So
yeah, I really think that has a lot to do with it too.
all right. Well, look, we're going to switch gears a little bit and go to our favorite segment, and that is the AT&T Guarantee of the Week. Okay, so this week's guarantee is all about Kristen Press, who announced her retirement from pro soccer last week and is retiring an absolute legend. So, in case you didn't know, I'm going to run through just a few of these accolades because there is a lot of them. One of the U.S. women's national team's all greats. She finished her legendary career with 155 caps, 64 goals, 43 assists, 2 FIFA World Cup championships, 2015, 2019, and earned a bronze medal in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. She's known for her crafty footwork, her precision finishing, and really became one of the team's most dynamic attackers. And also, outside of what she was able to do on the pitch, she was a leader off the field for advocating equal rights and inclusivity, which is something that we really, really advocate for here on this podcast and across the board. But she said this at her final home game. This club really marks all of the work and my teammates and I did over a decade to fight for equity and progress and opportunity for the next generation. To all the young people out there, you should know that when I was your age, I didn't get to come to games like this. I didn't have this dream to be up here someday playing in front of all of you. But I hope in some small way, the work that we all did allows you to dream your biggest, craziest, wildest dreams. I love that quote.
I do too. And this,
Quote.
I mean, we can obviously guarantee that she literally is a legend for sure. But another thing that I would say too that was like crazy for me when she announced that she was going to retire and also seeing that, right, is that I got really sad and really happy at the same time. And the reason why is because we're seeing, and I know in my generation, like the players that impacted me the most in soccer, like the players that impacted soccer the most as well, they're all retiring. And so it's just really, really hard to see that, right? It's like one right after another. And she's one of the last for me of the players that I looked up to and really revered in soccer during the time I was coming up, like growing up, right? And so it's hard, but also I was just incredibly happy because I think of the players now and the leagues now and how they are, like the equity has increased so much and it's been so great that I'm so happy that these players that have worked so hard to get there and to lay this foundation for the players that are there now are not, number one, getting their flowers, but also getting to, kind of do whatever they want to in the rest, of their careers, whatever it may be. I know she has a podcast and I know she's going to be doing stuff off the field for soccer still and all of these things. And that's great. But I just love that we're seeing our greats get the flowers that they deserve. And also we're seeing these new players that are just flourishing off of the work that our greats have done.
Yes.
And that's what I love to see.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah, it's been, it's been great to see Kristen and her career. She fought back from a lot of injury. She just did so many things for this game. And I just can't wait to see how the game continues to give back to her with all the hard work that she's done. But speaking of games, Ashley, a game that's going to get more expensive is a Liberty game. Okay. There has been a lot of conversation, a lot of discourse on WNBA threads and everywhere, right? About the increase in ticket prices for the Liberty. So there were WNBA fans that had custom shirts referred to season ticket price jumps of more than 250%, saying that the Liberty is asking upwards of $30,000 for 2026 renewals. And some season ticket holders are saying that, they're not going to be able to afford these tickets moving forward, and that the renewal more than triples the cost that they paid for the team's 2024 championship winning campaign. So, I mean, the exponential increase is definitely something that people are talking about, something that Liberty fans are feeling. And I think it's going to be something that the overall league feels as it continues to grow. Now, it's hard to see this. We want the growth, right? We want that to happen. It needs to happen. It's imperative for the success of the league and just the overall WNBA and sport of women's basketball. But what are your thoughts on the impact that this is just going to have across for fans across the board when it comes to
I was like looking it up on Twitter and just reading some of the replies, and it's really unfortunate, right? Because I think that fans are what makes sports so amazing. And I think that it's a unifier. And I think that it's the ultimate unifier in its most simplistic form. It's just about you and I like the same team. We're on the same team, even if for a short amount of time. And I feel like when you make a drastic price jump like this, I understand, business, and I understand the metrics, and I understand in order to keep a certain experience and to keep a certain quality of arena and facilities and all the things that go into having a team, you need to get that money from somewhere, and ticket sales make up a big part of that. So I don't think anybody would have had an issue, especially after franchises win, they become more in demand. I don't think anybody would have had an issue with there being a slight increase. I mean, granted, nobody would have liked it. No one likes to pay more for something that was once cheaper. But also, I think diehard Liberty fans would have understood, look, this is a championship team, and they got to pay some bills around here. In order to do that, if I got to pay $10 extra on my season tickets for every game, cool. But a 250% increase is crazy, because what that does is it prices out your OG fan base, because unless you have a fan base of nothing but billionaires and trillionaires, you're not going to be able to have families who grew up as Liberty fans, families who have little kids who they're passing that fandom down. Like, that's an expensive, especially in an era, in a society where everything costs money, where even simple groceries are so expensive, and families are struggling and figuring out how to penny pinch where they can. Nobody is going to have, most Americans, most fans, I'll say Americans because this is a podcast in the US, but there's fans across the world. Nobody's going to have $30,000 lying around and just saying like, yeah, we're going to use, like, that's insane. And honestly, the Liberty should be kind of ashamed of themselves. That's a 43% increase from last year. That's nasty. That's nasty work. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and ultimately what it's going to hurt is that arena. You're not going to have those fans aren't going to be as loud. Those fans aren't going to be the true
I promise you
fans.
they won't be.
Yeah, those fans aren't going to be the true fans that have been there the whole time. And the ones that you want to continue to pay back with because they have been so loyal. I've talked about this before. I worked for the Golden State Warriors, and my last season was the last season when they were in Oracle Arena, and then they moved to Chase Center. And not only did just where it was placed, where it was geographically, it was harder for people to get to, but also the prices shot up when they went into Chase Center. And now when you go to games, it breaks my heart. I'm not even
one of
gonna
the
lie,
most expensive tickets in the NBA, by the way.
Yeah, it breaks my heart because it is very, for lack of a better word, corporate in there,
For
and
sure.
I just remember the days when the fans came in and stood from the moment they got in that arena to the moment they left.
Oracle was loud.
It was lit. It was lit. It was the best. I will never forget working there during that time and being around all those fans who were die-hard Warriors fans. And they, and yes, the tickets were cheaper, but you had the fans there that were supportive from the moment they walked in. I'm not talking about when the game started. I'm talking about the moment they walked into that arena to the moment they walked out. And like you said, yes, it's inevitable that there's going to be some jump.
Right.
But to have that big of a jump, you're going to see a different arena next year. You're going to see a different fan base.
And I can tell you, as somebody, who grew up in New York and remember when the Barclays was first built and everything that went into it, and how they said they're going to give back to the community and all that stuff, and they never did. The Barclays has a reputation in the NBA, not in the WNBA, because that's where the Liberty have been playing for their entire, well, outside of MSG. And so like they've been there for a while. So that's very
Right.
much what you equate with the New York Liberty. I know for a fact that the Barclays, because of how much they jack up those ticket prices in the NBA, they don't get the true fandom of MSG. Now, granted, MSG tickets, especially during the playoffs, get very, very pricey, but there are also, the bridge tickets where, you're not as close to the court, but that's where the fans are the loudest, and the Chase Bridge and things like that, where the tickets are a little bit more affordable. And it's very corporate in the Barclays Center from an NBA standpoint. Whenever somebody says, yeah, I'm going to go see a game at Barclays Center, we call it Wall Street, because it's like, it's quiet as hell in there. Nobody's really cheering. It's like very much just kind of just a bunch of trust fund kids and, not real New York basketball fans. And the unfortunate reality is, it seems like that is where the Liberty are kind of headed, because this is we have colleagues of ours, we have mutual friends of ours who are season ticket holders who have well-paying jobs and do very well for themselves and are saying, yeah, I'm not renewing my season. I can't afford this. Like, this is
I
crazy.
couldn't do it.
$30,000? Come on, bro.
Yeah, that's some people. That is some people's literal salary for
Literally.
the year. So I just hope that W teams, as they look to make these changes within their organizations, that they take this into account, because yes, you definitely have to make more money. I get it, but does it have to be that drastic? I do not think so. And that, and I hope that it isn't across the board, because WNBA fans are true basketball fans who love the game. They love, to come to every single one of those games and support those women that are out there on the court. And I would hate to see them all priced out and have an environment that is no longer fun to go to. It's part of it. And it needs to be looked at a little bit deeper than just, let's increase these ticket prices. That's for sure. Well, we'll definitely keep you updated on that. We're going to be talking more about that, I'm sure, in the coming days. There's a lot of WNBA stuff that is going down, whether it be the CBA ticket prices, expansion, and all of that. So make sure you're locked in, and make sure that you're locked in right now, because I had an amazing interview with American tennis star Madison Keys. And Ashley, we were like laughing. I mean, it was a good time. We talked about the Australian Open win that she just had, and so much more. So take a look at this little piece of the interview with Madison Keys. I am so excited that we are interviewing American tennis star, and among her many accolades, 2025 Australian Open winner, okay? Champion. Put some respect on that name. Please welcome to the pod, Madison Keys.
Hi,
Thank you
thanks for
so
having
much.
me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Like, when I have to admit, I am new to the tennis game, okay? I went to the Open for the first time this year, and I am like falling in love every day. I'm like doing my research, my due diligence, like just learning about everybody. And the game is just so incredibly exciting. I wish that I had seen it when I was younger. And I know that you actually went pro when you were 14. Tell me just a little bit about what it was like to go pro at 14. I can't even imagine that.
Now at 30, I honestly can't really wrap my brain around the fact that I did go pro at such a young age. And I think looking back, I'm really glad that I did, when I was very naive and young, and I was like, yeah, it's no problem. Like, I'll just go pro. It'll be fine. Everything will work out. Because I know a lot of my friends really struggled when they were seniors in college or seniors in high school, trying to decide if they were going to go to college or they were going to go pro. And it was a decision that weighed very heavily on them. And I was like, yeah, I made that decision years ago. Like, there's one way, there's only one way forward for me. So luckily it really worked out for me. But I also had just, the support of my parents, and really just kind of went for it. And I'm just really kind of glad how everything played out.
Well, we are too, certainly, because from 14 to now 30, you had a phenomenal year, I mean, you're still playing obviously in this year because there's a little bit left to go. But, obviously winning the Australian Open was a huge thing. What do you think was the breakthrough to win that Open?
I had a little bit of a break kind of for the first time where I was healthy. I was really happy. I got married last off season, and it just felt like life was kind of just really good. And I was just really enjoying myself. I changed rackets, I changed string. I was very open to new possibilities. And I think I had gotten to the point where I had kind of stopped worrying about winning a Grand Slam when I was young. Everyone kind of told me that it was going to happen for me. It was, you're going to win one. And it just kind of felt like every year that I hadn't won one, it was more and more and more pressure that I kind of started carrying around. So, doing a lot of work with a therapist and talking just very openly with my team about wanting to just kind of get back to the basics of why I played tennis. And I just wanted to go out and really enjoy myself and just kind of reframe how I was approaching the sport. And then what do you know? You go out and you win the thing that you've been chasing for.
Well, you talk about reframing, and one thing that you've always been an advocate for is not only reframing physically, but also mentally. And I read something that said specifically the downtime that you've had between tournaments can be mentally draining. And I think it's important that we talk about, how do you reset that? How do you reset mentally and physically in those times when you just feel so mentally drained?
I think for me, I've had to start being very conscious of it. I think for a lot of us in the tennis world, we're gone for very long stretches of time. So we just physically can't go home just because it doesn't make sense. It's, too far of a flight, time zone changes, there's not enough days, etc. So I think sometimes as tennis players, we start letting like every decision of our lives focus or just get solely focused on like how is this going to help me play tennis? Like how am I going to do well in tennis? And you start slowly, it's like every single choice of your life is bettering tennis. And that can get really exhausting, especially when things aren't going super well. So I've had to be really conscious of going out in the cities that I'm in and actually seeing the cities I'm in. The amount of times I could tell you that I've been to certain cities and people are like, "Oh, did you see this?" And I was like, "No, I saw the hotel, I saw the courts, and I saw the hotel again." So going out in cities, and I have a really great group of friends on tour as well. So going out to dinner, we love an escape room. So we started doing more and more escape rooms all over the world. Just having more real life connections and just doing things that make you feel like more than a tennis player has really helped me kind of reconnect with being more than a tennis player, which I think helps put me in a better mental space when I'm going out and playing tennis.
Well, and I'm sure part of that mental space, in addition to being with friends and doing activities, going out and seeing things, is also your self-care routine. And I know that you've partnered with Breathe Right nasal strips as part of your self-care routine. How important is it that you like maintain the quality of your sleep? Because you gotta sleep when it comes to doing all these things, I'm pretty sure. And how important is that for your ability to perform as well?
Well, I think it started, years ago now, where I got really particular about my sleep routine. And I really wanted to try to find kind of a normalcy no matter where I was, because we're in different hotels basically every week, different, cities, different time zones. And I wanted to really kind of have something that always felt like, okay, it's the same at home as it is when I'm in playing in China or in Australia or in Italy. So it kind of started from there. And also, I don't know if anyone has tried a Breathe Right strip, but when you put it on and you're immediately like, whoa, I can breathe. This is crazy. um, it just became a part of my routine where it was like, okay, I can breathe better. I can sleep better. That just helped my mental clarity just as a person. But tennis is such small margins that just doing everything that you can to control as much as you can control, I think is really important as an athlete. So it was just one of those things where it was like, okay, it's one more thing where it's like, I'm breathing better, I'm sleeping better, I feel better in the morning. Like, box is checked, like, I'm doing what I can there.
I mean, it sounds like, athlete or not, we all need a Breathe Right strip because, like, listen, I haven't been an athlete for years. I played basketball many moons ago, but I know for sure that I want to breathe right. And that's what I do know. So,
Yes, it's amazing. They have some that are scented, like the lavender one. It's just like a
oh,
nice little calming situation.
oh,
You
I'm
gotta try
sold
it
on
out.
that. Yeah. Any kind of calm we can bring to the picture, I'm here for it. So you mentioned you got married. You mentioned you've been working on always your physical, mental health. You obviously won the Australian Open. There's been so many amazing things that have happened this year. If you could pinpoint one that stands out the most, what would it be and why?
I mean, winning the Australian Open was absolutely incredible. Obviously, I think, anyone would say, well, obviously, like, you won a Grand Slam, so that makes sense. But I think for me, it means so much more because I did it with some of the most important people in the world to me. I did it with an amazing team, and they have been so supportive and so helpful. And really, just surrounding yourself with great people is amazing, anyways. But then for all of you to have the same goal and to be able to reach it together, it's just icing on the cake where it really just feels like the stars align and you get to have this amazing moment. And I think being able to have that amazing moment that all of us will remember and we all got to experience together just made the whole tournament that much better.
Well, speaking of together, now tell me if I'm mistaken or not, but I believe your husband is your coach.
He is, yes.
Yeah, how do you balance that? Because when I read that, I was like, that's got to be a little tricky. It's got to be a little tricky.
It can be tricky at times. I think we do a good job at separating things. So it's like work is work, home is home. And it really does help because I travel so much and he played tennis himself up until just about 2 years ago. So we never really got to see each other a whole lot. So being able to now actually travel together and be together is like a huge plus. um, but yeah, it can definitely be tricky because I mean, I think anyone out there who works with their spouse can say, like, there's times that it's not the easiest thing. But I think also it helps because you know how to communicate with your partner probably the better than anyone in the world. And I think you know each other better than anyone else knows. So a lot of times like he won't even notice it, but he makes a face and I'm like, okay, what does that face mean? Like he doesn't even have to verbalize it because it's like I see that. And I think it's vice versa where there's moments where he can just see on my face if I'm ready to receive information or if I'm not, or if he has to change how he's going to deliver the information based on the situation. So I think in that regard, it makes things a lot easier. And it's also a lot easier just because it's like, that I just know that he has my best interest at heart all of the time. So it's just, you have so much trust in that person that you kind of can just, no matter what they say, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like I believe that whatever you're saying is like, you absolutely think that it's going to help me.
No, there's definite pluses to it too. I mean, in addition to the tricky part, I'm sure it's really awesome to just have him by your side always. And as you go into the final tournaments of 2025 together, as coach and player, what are you looking forward to the most?
I'm really looking forward to this is going to be my second ever year-end finals that I've qualified for. and the last time was 9 years ago, which is a little bit hard to believe on my end. But I think I'm just really looking forward to the fact that I think somewhere along the line, I kind of thought that I would never be in this position again. So being able to be in this position again this many years into my career is something that I'm very proud of. So I'm really looking forward to that opportunity. And then just really trying to go out and have fun and embrace the situation, and then, just really kind of just take it all in and hopefully play like some really good tennis and win a bunch of matches.
Well, we definitely are going to be watching for sure. And you just mentioned having a little bit of fun. Before you go, I just want to ask you some really fun social questions, like some rapid fire, so we can go out of here with some laughs or just getting to know you a little bit more. So, what is one sport that if you couldn't play tennis, you would want to play?
I am like the worst. I'm like the anti-athlete as a professional athlete, which is insane for me to say. Like, I don't watch other sports. I can't play other sports. But as a little kid, I wanted to be a cheerleader. So I would have to seriously work on my flexibility, but I would like to be one of the NFL cheerleaders.
Oh, I love this so much. Let's go. Well, you said you don't watch sports, but any particular team?
Well, I watch DCC on Netflix, so like they're obviously.
I know that's right. I watched it all too. I'm 6'6". You can't see. I'm a little bit too tall probably to be a cheerleader, even though I would still try.
I
But
think that we could probably learn Thunderstruck though, and
yes. Win. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Let's do it for sure. Now, who's your favorite music artist?
Favorite music artist? I am deeply obsessed with Paramore and also Shania Twain and also Beyonce.
Oh, all of those. Listen, I feel like we need to hang out because that's my list too. If you had to pick one song that was your favorite pump up song, what would it be?
I mean, Let's Go Girl, Shania Twain could run through a wall.
If we played it now, we both would be running out through these walls. Who's your GOAT?
Of music or of like a sport?
Let's just say of anything. Like who's your, if you were to think of GOAT, who first comes to mind?
For me, when you ask me who's the GOAT, I think Serena Williams.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go, GOAT. All right. So something that you cannot live without.
Something I cannot live without. Probably my phone. I think I could live without pretty much anything else.
Man, I feel you on the phone for sure. What about the biggest red flag about yourself?
Biggest red flag about myself? I am a neat freak. Like, if I notice something is like off, I'll be the person that goes over and like straightens it out. And like,
is that a red flag?
If we're having a conversation and I see it, it's like, I'm really sorry, but we have to pause because like that is driving me crazy.
Got to fix that really quick.
Yeah, I'll be right back. And like I've been listening, but also out of the corner of my eye, I've been like staring at this.
I'm not mad about that either. I don't know if that's a red flag. I'm just gonna say it. I mean, you're just keeping things in order. What's one word that friends would use to describe you?
One word. I've been told I'm quite nurturing. I'm kind of like if something is going wrong and like we need we need action to fix something, it's like I'm the person that people will come to.
Okay. And then finally, what would be the quote that you live by?
The quote that I live by. Well, my trademark is tiny head, big brain. And I kind of live by that. People always tell me I have a very small head, and I'm always like, yeah, but big brain. So I've got lots going on up here.
Period. I know that's right. Well, before you go, I know we talked about, we had some fun, but we also talked about the end of the year. What are you looking forward to the most next year?
I think next year, the beauty about tennis is that everyone starts at zero. So it truly is just like it's a whole new year. It's, and there's always so many opportunities. So I think I've always really loved tennis because no matter what's gone on, no matter what's happening, all of a sudden 1 week can change everything. So I think I'm really looking forward to just new opportunities and just being ready to kind of take on anything that comes my way.
Well, 1 week to live by is something that is good for life and in tennis.
First of all, you two were so cute, little besties.
No, definitely. I was like, we could hang out. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously,
like, she seems really cool. But it was, as a person who literally just started really diving into tennis,
Mhm.
I was a little giddy because I had done a lot of research on her and everything that she's not only done for the game of tennis, but also just mental health wise. And so, which is very, very important to all athletes, right? So it was just really, really awesome to talk with her. And I'm excited because she talked about how her career, she's really getting to do the things that she wants now. And, just got married. She's in a great time of her life and her career. And just looking forward to seeing what she does moving forward. So keep your eyes out on Madison Keys, okay? Because
that's
she's
right.
doing the dang thing. But one thing I want to keep our eyes out on too are just the shenanigans that are happening in the WNBA right now. We talked a little bit about ticket prices. That was more on the serious side, but now we're going to talk about some fun. And that is just the players and how they're doing in the offseason. I mean, whether it be from the parade we just saw with the Aces, and there was memes for days from that thing, or even just like this interaction between De'Erica and Ryan Howard. She said, "How long are you in Tokyo?" And then De'Erica said, Are you here? I leave on Sunday." And then she said, "No, I'm not there. Go hit the golf store for me and see what they got. Maybe you can find your game in there somewhere too." And she said, "WTF." And she posted this under her saying, "This is insane to wake up to." So just some really fun, like, I just love these interactions. And I think the main thing I wanted to talk about here is that I love just seeing them have fun, rest. It was a really grueling season for a lot of people in the W. And to see them like going back and forth like this, it just like made my day.
Yeah, I love that. I think that, athletes have extremely grueling schedules. And again, those injuries, if you're unfortunate enough to get one in a season, we never wish that on anybody. The mental fortitude it takes to rehab and come back. And, then when you talk about the W specifically, all the narratives that seem to surround the league, good, bad, somewhere in the middle. And then on top of that, they're entering their CBA negotiations, and that's going to get extremely contentious, I feel like. And, they're fighting for what they want. And then everything that happened with Fee towards the end of the season and all, the opinions that circulated from that, it's a lot and it can get a little heavy at times. And I think it's nice to just kind of remind everybody that it's just basketball and we're having fun at the end of the day. So love that for them.
Well, and also just athletes don't really get a lot of these pockets where they just get to be themselves, travel, all of those things. And so live it up, ladies.
Live it up.
I know there's some
jealous
things
because I want to go to Tokyo. So
I do too, actually. We should make a trip.
We could make a trip. Let's do a pod from Tokyo.
Oh, how can we fit AT&T? We need a sponsor.
Let's saying, something. Listen, while Alicia draws up that proposal, and we will have it in AT&T's inbox by end of week, we want to remind you all to follow us on our social media platforms and also to subscribe and follow the YouTube page because there is so much more in the world of women's sports. Yes, I know the WNBA has come and gone, but there's college basketball, there's tennis, there's soccer, and there's all the storylines in between. And look, like I said, CBA negotiations are officially in full swing, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot to discuss there. You don't want to miss a minute of it. But if you do and you don't catch us on video, at the end of this show, make sure you scan the QR code, because that is where you will find us on audio. And we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, so there's no reason why you shouldn't be tapped in with us right here at We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.
See you next week.
Bye.